The Methodist Church in Mamelodi West outside Pretoria was packed with community members, family and friends of former SABC board member Hope Zinde. That's where the Zinde memorial service was held. Zinde's body was found in the boot of her car in the Pecanwood Estate in Hartbeespoort Dam.
On June 15, 2016, the quiet neighborhood of Pecanwood Estate in Hartbeespoort was shattered by a brutal and unthinkable crime. Hartbeespoort, informally known as Harties, is a small resort town in the northwest province of South Africa, situated on the slopes of Magaliesberg mountain and the banks of the Hartbeespoort Dam. Hope Zinde, a 50-year-old mother known to be a loving and devoted parent and a media tycoon, was found dead in the booth of her car. And the perpetrator, none other than her son Mark Zinde, a drug-addicted 23-year-old who had been struggling with addiction for years. The details of the crime sent shockwaves across the community and the entire South African media industry. How did this happen? What drove this young man to take the life of his own mother? In today's video, we will delve into the events leading up to this tragic event and explore the complex web of relationships, emotions, and circumstances that led to Mark killing his mother. Join us as we unravel the mystery and uncover the shocking truth behind this heinous crime. Welcome back to True Crime Capital. Hope Zinde was born in South Africa in the early 1960s and grew up in a loving family. Her parents instilled in her a strong work ethic and encouraged her to pursue her dreams, which led her to a successful career in journalism and television. She started her career at Channel Africa and SAFM before getting her TV break when she covered the country's first democratic election as a Durban correspondent. In 1995, she traveled with the former President Nelson Mandela on his first trip to Mozambique, before joining GMSA for a 2-year stint as an anchor and producer. Zinde also worked for various newspapers and magazines in South Africa. She later joined the South African Broadcasting Corporation, also known as the SABC, where she worked again as a television news anchor and producer. Zinde was known for her hard-hitting interviews and reporting on social and political issues, which made her a respected figure in the media industry. Zinde also served as a member of the SABC board, who along with colleagues Rachel Kalidas and Ronnie Lubisi, was removed from her position by the Minister of Communication, Faith Mutambi. Zinde accused the minister of acting against them as they had not supported her appointment of Hlaudi Motsoeneng as the chief operating officer of the public broadcaster. In the 1990s, Zinde left SABC and joined the newly launched ENCA, formerly known as E-News Channel Africa, as a news anchor and producer. She later moved into the entertainment industry, where she produced and presented various television programs, including lifestyle and talk shows.
Ms. Zinde served as head of Hope Zinde Communications, which she established in 1998. She performed various special advisory functions through Hope Zinde Communications for a number of organizations and bodies, including the Limpopo Province, beverage giant Coca-Cola South Africa, the IEC, the World Bank, the Department of Transport, and the University of South Africa. She also served as non-executive director of Pan-African Capital Holdings. She was unmarried and apparently only had the one son.
Zinde was not just a journalist and a television personality. She was also a successful entrepreneur, having owned her own communications company. Her tenacity and determination were evident in all aspects of her life, and she inspired many through her work and achievements. At the time of her death, Zinde was General Manager of Corporate Affairs at the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, also known as PRASA. Zinde was also a devoted mother to her son Mark Zinde, whom she had with Dr. Lebohang Manoto in her mid-20s. Sadly, the relationship between Zinde and Dr. Manoto ended shortly after Mark was born, and Zinde raised him as a single parent. Despite the challenges of being a working mother, Zinde always made time for her son and was actively involved in his upbringing. Mark attended Pecanwood College and is reported to have been a top pupil at the school. He was even head boy at some point, and in 2010 he achieved 2 distinctions in matric and was reported to have been quite athletic as well, as he played basketball and was on the school's first rugby team. After matric, also known as grade 12, Hope bought Mark an apartment in Pretoria so that he could be close to the Varsity College in Hartbeespoort, where he was studying towards a Bachelor of Commerce degree. It is reported that she also bought him a Mercedes-Benz. Many are mystified at how the best-behaved child who was the head boy at his school, who also received an award for his leadership, became a recluse who refused to eat, drink, clean himself, or even leave his room, and becoming a drug addict in such a short period of time. In 2013, Mark was admitted into a drug rehabilitation program at Vista Clinic in Centurion, Pretoria, after his mother started noticing certain behavioral patterns in Mark, including withdrawal, aggression, violence, and poor insight. For me, this is quite telling. Here's Mark completing high school in 2010, a well-behaved and a top student. Immediately after he leaves for college in 2013, just 3 years after completing high school, he's already a different person that is even going to rehab. It got me thinking, did he struggle to deal with the pressures of being in college? Or was it the fact that he has such privilege in terms of having his own apartment and driving around in a new Mercedes-Benz and being on his own for the first time? Could it be the fact that he has so much access to money and luxury? Or was it that he became friends with the wrong people? Sometimes being an only child to a mother that is very successful and willing to give you anything you want has its own dynamics. Again, I still wonder, could it have been pressure from varsity, wrong friends, or was he just spoiled? Let me know of your thoughts in the comment section below. Notwithstanding her son Mark's battle with drugs and mental health issues, Hope had an unwavering love for him. Hope and Mark shared a strong bond, yet she was not alone in her efforts to seek professional help for Mark. Audrey, Hope's mother, and Dr. Lebohang Manoto, Mark's father, joined forces in pursuit of support for Mark's struggle. However, in June 2016, tragedy struck. Hope Zinde had always been a vivacious and charismatic personality, with a keen mind and a warm heart towards her family and friends, which they also reciprocated by checking on her most of the times. But one day in June 2016, Audrey Zinde, her mother, and her sister Fikile Zinde went looking for her because she had not returned their calls for several days. Mark, who had recently moved back in with his mother at Pecanwood Estate in Hartbeespoort from college in Pretoria, had refused to allow Audrey and Fikile into the house. It is believed Zinde had already been dead for several days. Mark only opened the door when the police were called. The officers arrived at the home and found the door unlocked while Mark was still inside. As they entered the home, they were met with a scene of horror. Dry blood had stained the walls and the floors, and the air was heavy with a sickly scent of violence. The officers followed the trail of blood through the passage which led them into the garage, where they had found two vehicles parked side by side, a Jeep and a Mercedes-Benz. But it was the Jeep that held their attention, for inside it lay Hope's lifeless body. There are sources on the internet that says that the model of a vehicle that Hope's lifeless body was found in was actually a Range Rover and not a Jeep.
Some killing of former TV personality Hope Zinde. According to reports, Zinde's body was found in the boot of her SUV at her Pecanwood home at Hartbeespoort this afternoon. A police spokesperson says a large amount of drugs was found in the possession of her son.
The investigating officers could hardly believe what they were seeing. It was clear that Hope had been a victim of a brutal assault, and the evidence pointed to her son as the perpetrator. As the officers looked around the garage, they saw a dumbbell lying on the ground. The weapon had been used to deliver a fatal blow on the side of her head. The officers were in disbelief as they realized the enormity of what had happened. Hope Zinde, a beloved member of the community, had been taken away from them in the most heinous way imaginable. It was later confirmed that her son had murdered her. Her son Mark, 23 years old at the time, who had been once the apple of her eye, was now her murderer. What could have led him to kill his beloved mother? The possible answer to this was his usage of hard drugs and mental health issues. During the murder trial, it was confirmed that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head, and the murder weapon was confirmed to be indeed the dumbbell recovered at the scene of the crime. Zinde's uncle, Jackson Lesufi, said he suspected that Mark had clashed with his mother over his drug use, and he confirmed to the court that Hope had raised concern with the family about Mark's drug use and was planning to send him back to rehabilitation. Mark pleaded not guilty to the murder charge. He was later released on bail, where he went to stay with his father at his home in Vereeniging while he waited for trial. A few months later, after his bail release, Mark was found in the possession of drugs by his father. Upon confronting him about his drug use, which was in violation of his bail conditions, he became violent with his father and hit him with a clasp and tried to strangle him. His stepmother, Mama Sedi Maleka, tried to intervene, but Mark assaulted her as well. Fortunately, his father and stepmother managed to overpower him. He was then arrested again and had to wait for his trial behind bars. During the trial, Mark was referred to a psychiatric hospital for observation multiple times and was initially declared fit to stand trial. However, after a third referral, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and was found unable to contribute to his defense.
The mental state of murder accused Warona Zinde is in question again. This is despite a Vescopis psychiatric hospital report last year saying Warona was fit to stand trial. A new report by an independent psychiatrist has found that Warona is schizophrenic with negative effects.
We think there's enough grounds. We've got our own psychiatrist, Dr. Wynkow, who also said he needs to be referred back to Weskoppies and for new assessment. And I think it's important eventually to find out what is his mental state.
Along with the murder charge for his mother's killing in June last year, Warona also faces an attempted murder and assault charge on his father and stepmother. And as he left court, Warona shouted and cursed. This as he walked past his family in the court gallery, an incident that his lawyers says supports their call for his mental
The judge ruled him to be detained indefinitely in a psychiatric hospital as he was a danger to himself and others. Despite Mark's murder of his mother, his late mother's family came to support him in court and hoped he would receive the correct treatment and improve. Judge Bert Baum ordered that Zinde must be detained at a hospital section of a prison until he would be transferred to Weskoppies Psychiatric Hospital as a state patient. And there he remains to this day. This case is a reminder of the importance of mental health awareness and the need for access and proper treatment and support for those who may be struggling with mental illness. Hope Zinde has been remembered as an extraordinary woman who paved the way for young black females to be on television. Hope was also held in high esteem by her colleagues and has been described as a strong-willed woman who has made an immense contribution to the media industry.
She loved her work, she worked hard, and she was a person who was never afraid to speak her truth, and I think everybody appreciated her honesty around her. So I learned a lot, I've got to be honest with you, because I had come from a lot of entertainment television before that. Okay. So this was my first real news gig, and so just sitting next to her, who had been at the game for quite a while, I learned quite a bit from her, and yeah, she shared her knowledge and she shared her skills with me. Right. So it's really tragic to hear of her passing in this way. Very sad story, but I think many people will remember her.
Right. I mean, it's safe to say she was a media darling. What do you think the viewers will remember her for? Yeah, she was, you know, I'll use the word feisty, but I'll use it in a nice way. Right. She never sort of pulled back from tough interviews. Right. She could be quite, you know, she'd get into it. So she took her job as a journalist seriously, and I think a lot of people would say she wasn't afraid to spar with politicians and certain guests, but I think that was part of her strength. You know, she wanted the story told, and she got the story told.
I'll leave you with some tributes made to Hope by her loved ones. Do you think justice was served in Hope Zinde's case? Comment down below and I will see you at my next upload.
Zinde. The name itself carries so much strength. In each syllable, its articulation defines the very being of which you were. Hope is what you gave the youth of South Africa during a time when the country was trying to redefine itself. A black woman news anchor, something ever so foreign to the concept of the South Africa you had grown up in during your time. You always had hope. We always had hope. We have not lost our hope. She lingers amongst us, telling us not to worry, telling us her transcendence has been peaceful. And she tells us our secrets of forgiveness of God, almighty trait, she whispers. Truly, I say to you today, you will be with me in paradise.